Yeah, thank you very much. So now it's the time for our Master Black Belt, Dr. Reiner Hutwelker. Hi, Dr. Reiner.
Hi, Shireen. Thank you for the invitation.
Hi.
It's a big pleasure for me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So can you share your presentation?
Yes, just in a moment. So I really enjoyed the lectures I heard before. And so I would, of course, have appreciated to visit you again in Cairo. But as I see, there are still 83 participants here. And I think we had about 100, more than 120. And to say it with Pascal's words, this is a wow. Really great. So let me see whether it also works with sharing my screen.
Yeah. So Dr. Reiner, thank you very much. You have shared already before, visited us in Egypt in 2019. We had a great conference at that time. And thank you for sharing with us. Dr. Reiner, if you don't know him, he is very famous in Six Sigma world. His course and edX for Six Sigma Green Belt is one of the top courses globally, and he won many awards. He's one of the pioneers in Six Sigma who wrote a very nice book about Six Sigma, Green Belt people, helps people to learn, and he has been, Dr. Reiner has been supervising projects of Six Sigma all over the world. So Dr. Reiner, nice to have you with us tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen. Thank you for having me. It's a big pleasure and big honor here. So the title of this lecture here is what is the problem? And you might think that is a very easy to answer question, but it's the starting point and the first issue that we have in Six Sigma. But before I come to this, let me say, just introduce myself a little bit. So thank you also, Shireen. I'm a Six Sigma Master Black Belt. And we, just a moment, and started my professional career at Siemens in Germany. So I'm from Germany, from Munich. Actually, I'm located in Austria, within the mountains, lots of snow here. And at Siemens, I started as a developer, software developer for user interfaces, hardware and software, prototyping. And then I was an in-house consultant at Siemens, starting with Lean or Kaizen at the time in the early 90s of the last century, and then switched to and added Six Sigma at Motorola, and left Siemens then after about 6 years. And now I'm an independent business consultant for about 25 years. And with some experience in production and service. So you don't see this, sorry. Additionally, I'm a senior lecturer at Technical University of Munich in the Institute of Lifelong Learning. And just a moment, and I'm very happy, and you just mentioned it already, Shireen. We won several awards in 2020, also 21, and I think it's a week ago, we also won another one of the most important awards from Wharton QS Reimagine Education, the bronze medal for best online course. So I'm talking about contents and the challenges that we have. And of course, I will combine it with the content that we have to cope with in an online course on the topic of Six Sigma and how to transport this information. So this is what I want to do with you. So first, let me give you a short overview of what we are offering there so that you can better understand what the challenge is and how we can and need to transmit this knowledge. And then let's go into some details. And I prepared a tiny little survey 3 days ago to make it also a little bit more transparent. What is the problem and what do we understand? What do we mean if we are talking about a problem? So we have overall 4 courses. And now I want to switch my screen here. This doesn't work, just a moment. So we have a yellow belt program, which covers the green belt book of knowledge of the ASQ, American Society for Quality, on define and measure, analyze, improve, control. Those of you who know Six Sigma, of course, know this. And then third is about lean production. This overall leads to the Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt certificate. So here we cover the ASQ Green Belt theory, and then we follow the recommendation of the International Society for Six Sigma Professionals. And this is also typical in Europe, and I think in many parts of the world, that you need to implement a certification project to become a Six Sigma Green Belt. So this is the challenge, to offer certification projects, topics for individual certification projects for our students. And there are overall 4 different paths. So we offer a business project where participants, of course, from a company implement a company-specific improvement project. Don't want to talk about this basic here, but we are also the first to offer certification for students, and this is done completely online in our blended course. So it's offline material and online support with online lectures and individual coaching, and additionally we have an award for an outstanding idea following the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So this then, the implementation of this project here then leads to the TUM Lean Six Sigma Green Belt. So 4 courses, and here's some facts about our course. Since we started in 2015, changed a little bit so that we can say from 2018 to 2021, actually we had more than 300,000 participants, and gave more than 10,000 certificates. So the average age of our participants is 30. We have 26% female participants. I think that's great, but I still think there is some headroom also for female participants, because let me talk about this later. And the education behind, the half of them have a master, 30% have a 50% bachelor, 30% master, 10% high school, and we have participants from actually from 179 countries, and most of the participants with 10% come from the United States, and then 7% from India, and the lowest rate of participants then less than 1%. From Papua New Guinea. So you might already also here see what kind of challenge we have and what kind of different degrees of education there is behind our students. And this is, of course, a very, very important part of this course, to cope this variety, not only of projects, but also with a variety of knowledge that our students have. So basically, if we talk about Six Sigma, then let me summarize here that Lean and Six Sigma basically are management systems to improve business processes in production and service. Most of you will know this. And let me give you some examples of these projects that were complete that have been completed from employees and from students. So the first that you see here is a typical project for Six Sigma. It's a mass production. It's about a blister packaging for drugs. And the problem was that they had some pinholes and cracks in the laminate material of their packages. So this is production oriented, and this was also the original idea. This was, of course, an individual project from a certain company, and also the second example here, also from an employee. With their internet shops, they discovered delays, wrong prices, and translation errors in their online shops for their hardware products that they offered. Another example, and this is a little bit different to the others, also one employee implemented this project about wrong dimensions in technical drawings for deep sea supplies. So you can easily imagine that this is not a mass production, this kind of product. And this was lots of work for this also a female participant to cope with this situation. So they had a very low repetition rate in their production. And in this case, this student had to go into the history and to collect data, specific data. And we'll talk about this, which kind of data we need also in a few moments. Then I think this is one of the advantages that we have, that we generalize the approach of Six Sigma for any repeated process, so that we could also offer our certification projects to students and job seekers. This is not what ASQ likes. So ASQ in the United States, they will give you Lean Six Sigma Green Belt certification simply based on a theory exam, and they additionally require professional experience for 3 years under the supervision of a black belt. So I think basically this doesn't make sense, because Six Sigma is problem solving, and I do not necessarily need to solve problems following the Six Sigma method in a company. So if we find topics and we open this branch also for students, we can focus on other topics that are not directly related to production and service. And what you can see here is one of our student products. It's from Nigeria. And our students all implement an environment-related topic. So it's basically about environmental littering. We have predefined this already. And what you can see here is a picture about blocked sewers with plastic bottles. And what happens if it rains in the city, then you can easily understand that if the sewers are blocked, that they have flooding in the city, and the consequences of this flooding is then pest, and this is not a nice situation. So this is a typical picture from our environmental littering projects. And of course, littering is also a process, and our challenge was to redefine this and to find out and to give some hints what we are talking about, if we are talking about problems, if we are talking about causes, if we are talking about effects, and if we are talking about solutions. So let's go into the details of effects, problems, causes, and solutions. Overall, what we offer is a Lean Six Sigma course, and this is really a rough and extreme comparison of Six Sigma and Lean thinking from my perspective. And it's a short summary of one of the lectures we have there, also on video. I will give you a list of videos later. This is everything is for free. So if you think about Six Sigma, then the target of Six Sigma is to increase the effectiveness of the process. And if we think about lean thinking, then basically it's about an increased efficiency of processes. I know this is an extreme view, but overall, I think this impression, this polarization expresses this in a right way. Methods and tools that we use in Six Sigma, where's my mouse? Here's my mouse. Is a generic, scientifically based problem-solving approach. At least we added this scientific base of this problem-solving approach. And if we offer a problem-solving approach, we of course need to know what a problem is. And in lean thinking, I think it's a set of very important principles, rules, and common sense for a wide application range. And I really appreciate what Paul just presented there. And I know these meeting rooms with handwritten charts from some very successful companies. They do this, and I think it's very important because these charts orient and focus all the employees on the most important figures that you have. So there are no debates around this. This is important, and this is also not common sense, but if you think about it, this is common sense. You have an anchor of what to talk about. So if we just put the character, or want to characterize Six Sigma, then and Lean, then for me, Six Sigma is like a treatment for a very specific disease. So we might experience problems in quality, in availability, or in consumption. And I will clarify this a little bit later. What we mean with quality is, okay, you know this. Availability is about the right amount at the right location at the right time. So this is more than time. And consumption is the consumption of inputs that you have and the consumption of resources that you have in your process. So a problem could be, for example, a specific quality problem. It could also be a specific availability or consumption problem that you have. But we start in Six Sigma, we start with a problem and then try to identify the causes in the process. With Lean, I think Lean is more like a fitness program for strengthening all your body functions that you need. So you focus on the wastes and the losses that you have. And Pascal mentioned blockchain. So this is a part in the process that you set up. You change the method in your process. Use blockchain, and you might have used some other algorithms, but now you change the process, and you hope, of course, then that some of your problems in quality, availability, and resource consumption will be minimized. So the approach here from Six Sigma and Lean are just the opposite. And so this both together really makes sense. So you have two sides of the same coin if you talk about Six Sigma and Lean thinking. The first challenge that I experienced also already at my time at Siemens was when a division, Siemens division, and Siemens at the time had about 500,000 employees, and many of these divisions started Six Sigma immediately after General Electric started Six Sigma. And the first challenge, of course, was if we then were in a meeting room in the first sponsor workshop, champions workshop, the CEO decided to implement Six Sigma. And then, of course, we needed the problems. If we want to introduce Six Sigma, then we need a bunch of problems to work on with our certification processes. And in this case, this is an example some years ago, and I will give you a newer example at the end of this small contribution. A new CFO within a financial division, don't want to tell you the name of it, but they are basically financially oriented. And new CFO then traveled around the different locations and asked the question, what problems do you experience in your business processes? So here we are talking about second level and third level management. And this is range, gives you a range of answers that he received. Overall, there were about 120 answers. And what he get there was, for example, internal communication bad, many interfaces in the process, different software application, political decisions, standardize our processes, responsibilities are widely distributed. We need a database XY, basic data is not maintained, division of the process is wrong, internal service orientation low, reorganize departments A, B, and C. So these were some examples of the answers he received. And based on the approach, then I classified the answers that he received. And in this specific sample, there were about 76% solution ideas. So asking for a problem, he got 3/4 solution ideas. This was not the question, and it's of course important that you know the problem before you suggest a solution. And the second then was he received about 11% courses. In these answers, I identified them. 10% were unidentified, so I could not say, is this a solution, a cause, a problem, or an effect. 3% problems were mentioned and 1% effects. So this is what we were looking for, and this is basically what we got. This is, of course, an important information. If somebody suggests a solution, then of course you can assume that he also has a problem in mind, and maybe this person even has a cause in mind, because only knowing a problem and then suggesting a solution is not enough, because there is no relationship to the cause of the problem, what you can of course immediately understand. So let's get a little bit into practice, what we show and what we offer in our course. We have a Lean Six Sigma scenario. This is a very short video, about 5 minutes. It's easy to understand, it's culture free, and it's also easy to transfer. It looks too easy for some, but it covers, basically it covers all aspects that are unnecessary to know. So this is about, the video starts with an order, and it's coming in, and then we have our little chef here, and you see she is doing the planning here on the calendar. And next she is mixing some ingredients and nibbling on the chocolate. And then this is her mother shaping the cookies and throwing away the excess dough, and preheating the oven, and then setting up the timer, and putting the cookies into the oven. Then the edges have to be broken off of the cookies because they do not fit in the tin here, delivering to the customer. You are 1 week early is what you can see here, and overall these cookies are then dried and thrown away. So this is a very short 5 minutes, and you see this. And the first task of course for our students is to identify the problems here, to structure what do you observe here. And so our course also starts with an introduction of scientific observation. So here you can see 2 cookies, and if we observe and try to understand what's going around, what's happening around us, then we could basically ask 2 kinds of questions, and we can go 2 ways. First, this cookie is an object. This is always needed. We need, of course, an object of our observation. And we can classify our objects, and this way generalize the information, get more generalized information on our object, or become more concrete by a description. So if we ask, for example, what is a cookie, then we could classify them in these different types. So savory pastry, sweet pastry, and bread. And of course, our cookie belongs to this category. And if we also think about this brezel here, which are, of course, very famous in Munich, then we have the differentiation between sweet pastry and savory pastry. So this classification helps us to classify similar objects in the same category and differentiate them from different objects. And overall, they are, of course, related to the family of bakery products. And this is then the brezel and the cookies are, of course, in the same category. This does not help very much if we are talking about a Six Sigma project. This might help you if you are thinking about big data approaches, if you want to discriminate between your sales success in savory pastry or sweet pastry. So this classification is important. in the daily business, but not so much for a Six Sigma project. So we more want to find out what has a cookie. And this is the way to identify attributes. And attributes play a very important role in measurement, as you will immediately see. So what has a cookie? And you can see that the cookie has some ingredients. Each cookie has ingredients, and each cookie has a form, and each cookie has a certain taste, and it has a delivery date, and so on. There are many different attributes that a cookie has. And we can, of course, specify this form also a little bit more, so that we can discriminate shape and diameter and height and weight and for example, color. And if we then, for this specific attributes, also measure values, then you can see that we can say, of course, this cookie has the shape of a cylinder, and the diameter is about 10 centimeters, and the height is about 0.7 centimeters, and the weight should be 10 grams, and the colors, these are the RGB colors, are these three values here. So if you now compare these two cookies, and let's think that the right one is conform to our specification and the left one is deviant, then the only way you can discriminate them is, for example, by the diameter and by the color. Of course, probably also discriminated on the taste. But here you can see that only if you want to differentiate and be very specific of what we are doing and producing and what tells something about our outputs, we have to go to the attributes and to their values. So what also can be seen here, that if you already assign a certain value to a certain attribute, then this already means measuring reality. So what we are doing here is some kind of modeling, first by these attributes and measuring the reality. And what you can also see is that this is a value. So a cylinder is a certain value. It could also, of course, be a pyramid. And this is not immediately understood, but in statistics, we talk about nominally scaled variables if we assign categorical attributes are categorical values, and they are, of course, helpful. They do not carry as much information as, for example, the diameter here, or the height, but this already is a measurement on a different measurement scale. So what are these problems, and how do we help students identify and define problems? So you remember this picture from the introduction. Hey, you are 1 week early. So what do we have? We have our cookie delivery 1 week early. Then we had this bad taste, throwing away our cookies here. So cookie taste bad. We had this cookie diameter larger than 10 centimeters. So the edges had to be broken away. We have the cookie ingredients, more than 50 grams of waste. And we have an energy waste. If you look at this oven, this was preheated too much, and you can see the smoke coming out here. And you might already have seen the structure here of this table. So what we need to define a problem is first, of course, the object that we are talking about. And even in our little home bakery, there are, of course, several objects. We have a shopping list. This is an object. We have the dough in different development states, and each of these development state of the dough is a ball, dough is a sheet, cookie raw. So these are all discriminable intermediate outputs, which we then would specify as an object. The second one here, what you see are their attributes. So we are talking about taste, we are talking about diameter, delivery, and so on. And the last entry here is about its deviation. So the cookie tastes bad. In the beginning of a Six Sigma project, we do not necessarily need to be very precise. This is done at the end of the measure phase, but we know already very early that we will probably be able to measure this later. So we are talking about the taste, and actually I have no idea how to operationalize this. Let me simply say taste is bad. This is of course more concrete here, and there's already a specification limit behind. So it's the specification limit seems to be 10 centimeters, and this cookie here is larger than 10 centimeters. So we have a deviation from our specification also here 1 week early. So we know there should it was a delivery date, and we missed this. What you can see here, if we talk about we cannot only talk about cookies, these material objects, cookie tastes bad, but if we think about this lecture here or the video or learning videos, then the video itself is the object, and we could talk about audience retention. We could also talk about audience retention in a meeting. And that the audience retention then is discontinued is a rough description of one of these problems we could have. We could also, of course, think about, for example, a decision. I do not remember whether it was Pascal or Paul talked about the decision of a loan. And of course, if you decide on a loan, or if you decide on allowing new customers to join your telecom company, then you decide you are allowed to come in, you get this loan or you don't get this loan. Then this decision has certain different alternatives. So it can be, everybody who knows a little bit about statistics knows this. So this can be a hit. This can be a false alarm, this can be a missed signal, and this can be a correct rejection. So in every decision we make, we have these 4 alternatives, and 2 are okay and 2 are wrong. So also each decision has the property alternative, and the alternative, the chosen alternative, can be false. So this is the challenge, not so much in production, more in service oriented. So within the company, the service processes that you have in the company, but also, of course, the companies that have their business in service. The next thing that we can do is a classification of the problem. So you remember we have this becoming concrete by the concrete description, what has a cookie, and we can of course classify problems according to these already mentioned quality, different problems types. Where's my mouse? Here's my mouse. Quality, availability, and consumption. So what do we understand under quality, different quality categories? So things can be false, defective, and insufficient, missing, or unreliable. One quality aspect. This can be not only partially suitable for the targeted purpose. This is of course a development deviation, and it can be, I put this here, risky for safety and security. For me, this is also a quality problem that you can have in your company, and primarily are the internal or external customer affected by quality deviations. Then we have this availability, to make it a little bit more specific here, not available in the required quantity, too much or too few, not available at the required time, too early, too late, not available at the required location. So these are also different types of problems that will affect the internal or external customer. And then we could talk about consumption. And this can be, for example, consumption problems can be, for example, time consuming in preparation or waiting times in between. And you will identify already the wastes of Kaizen here. Wasteful in consumption of input and resources. So this is an active waste. We waste inputs, we waste resources, but we can also have passive losses of inputs and resources during the creation. So we don't do it actively, but we have, for example, loss of material in a certain pipe where we deliver products from one location to the other. So this is important to know for our students to discriminate between description and classification, and of course to be able to then identify these problems in their in the area of their project field. And what you can understand, of course, is that problems might be differently, that the importance differs from problem to problem. So for one person, the taste is important, for the other, the diameter. And let's have a look. So if we want to start Six Sigma with a problem, then we would need to identify the problem. And I simply listed here some of these attributes that came in mind to me on cookies. It's about ingredients, shape, diameter, weight, color, texture, flavor, number of chocolate pieces. So we have chocolate pieces there, the taste, the smell, the calories, the baking time, the working hours, the oven temperature, energy consumption, dough consumption, cycle time, date of manufacture, expiry date, and so on. And if you please think that even this tiny little small cookie, or the box or the tin of cookies that we produce, you might have, of course, more complex products that you deliver. Then you can very easily understand that there are lots of more attributes. And here we have this assignment of these values. So it's important in Six Sigma. This is then one of the next steps to prioritize these problems. So not every attribute is important, but of course the flavor and the taste is important for most of the customers. So here we are talking about voice of customers. It's not about the single customer. If we are talking about mass production, it's not about the single customer, but the overall customer. What are the most important attributes? What are the attributes that are most important for our customers? And what are the attributes that are most important for our company, for our voice of customer and voice of business? And then if we know them, these most important attributes, then of course we can prioritize our problems that we have in this area of responsibility. To discriminate now, and this is of course important, to discriminate problems from the causes. And this is of course in our process model, we think about inputs coming into our area of responsibility. We are talking about activities, what we are doing. We are thinking about methods that guide our activity, for example, like a recipe. And we, of course, think about resources that we use, the oven, the kitchen scale, our little chef that we have. And these components work together and finally lead to the output. And if you think that our problems are related to the output objects, to our cookie, then we would of course find some ideas what already also in the first steps of the project have some ideas, some assumptions what might have affected or caused or triggered the problems. So for us, it's very important not to find an idea of a root cause far behind the direct observations, but what we want, what is most important for me, is to find the triggering influences, the last causes in a causal chain that leads to a certain deviation of a certain attribute of a certain object. This is important. So what you not saw in our video, we had a very ambiguous order on the taste of our cookies, and the order that's coming in, this is of course about an input that we have. And our little chef nibbled from the ingredients, and this is an activity. We did not plan this. This is not described in the method, and it's a resource that's working in a specific manner. And so if I don't know whether it's related to the method or resource, then I simply assign it to the activity. Basically, I want to assign it to the method and resource, because then we really know the source of the deviation. we could also see, you could also see in the calendar that our little chef is manipulating the calendar, so the date of on the calendar is wrong. And the calendar is, of course, a resource, and the chef is a resource in our project. And then the timer set up for the baking time is wrong, also a resource. The oven was extremely preheated. The ingredients were individually determined. So this is a method, and a lack of method in many companies that I saw during my professional lifetime so far. Many of the processes rely on personal expertise, on history, on personal preferences. And of course, everybody knows that if you want to bake cookies, then you need a recipe. And my experience is that there are lots of activities which are not guided by some standard procedures. So here this is why I also mentioned here, ingredients are individually determined to actively describe what is being done. This is also an important point. Always describe what you can see, what you can observe. So if you write already here, a recipe is missing, then you would argue something that is not existent leads to a problem. And this does not make sense. And I experience this very often, that we assume something that is missing to be a cause for something that happens. But logically, this is nonsense. Something that does not exist cannot lead to a problem that exists. So to be very precise and describe the things that are going on around you, be very specific, is one of the biggest challenges, I think, in every company, not only for Six Sigma. And the last thing here, so we have also the cookies shaped variably. This is, of course, the way she is doing this, and the method she uses is not so well suited, and also assigned to the method. So what we can see and have as causes and triggering causes on our problems are the negative influence from inputs, from the activities, from the methods, and from the resources. And this is what we want to find. The next thing, now let's talk about effects. So we presented problems, some ideas about causes. Let's talk about effects. And you might know the magical triangle, which is very prominent in project management. It's about quality, cost, and time. And there is an issue with this perspective. So what we can immediately observe on any output, a shopping list and a cookie, is, for example, a deviation in the attributes related to quality, taste, calories, size, and so on. We can also describe problems related to consumption, so nibbling the ingredients, throwing away the excess dough. This is a consumption problem. And the availability that we have, or decreased availability, being too early in our example. There we could see these. Typically, we are, of course, too late, but this is, in this case, we are too early, and this is, of course, an availability problem. And all these three different problems lead to effects, and the effects of this are, of course, costs and reduced customer satisfaction. So if you don't have the quality, if you deviate in quality, if you deviate in consumption, if you deviate in the availability, then this leads to costs. So costs and satisfaction are another level of observation. And I remember very often, if companies very often introduce cost-cutting programs in their company, and experienced many managers in the middle range, and I said, so I need to cut my costs about 20%, 10%, 30%. I have no idea why, how. And of course, you have to translate this. Costs are effects of problems that you have. So you have to translate this in deviations of quality, consumption, and availability. And in our little example, we have, of course, our customer dissatisfied. So it's about satisfaction, and for customer claims compensation, costs related, company quality cost increase, also costs and company revenue losses costs. There is no lever to directly address costs. It's an effect of our problems. So this is important to know if you want to get the task as a manager to reduce costs. You have to work on the results of your process, of course. And you can simply also imagine this, that we overall on our planet, we solve problems to reduce costs and not we reduce costs to solve problems. So this doesn't make sense. And you can also now see that it's helpful to be very specific. Now let's come to this overview and this arrangement. And here you see is here we are talking about causes, hopefully triggering causes. We are talking about these problems. We are talking about these effects here. Now we can also think about, get first ideas about our solutions. So for example, determine the correct oven temperature, use cookie blanks, and forbid nibbling of the dough of the chocolate in our example. I ask our students also to to write down the first solutions ideas they have. This was forbidden in the original in Six Sigma, but I never understand why do you not allow to mention solution ideas. I think this is very helpful also in the beginning to mention solution ideas, because here you get the ideas that are already there. But of course, we do not implement them, except there is really a common understanding. This is a quick win, and we should immediately implement this. Never heard about this, but it absolutely makes sense. And it's easy to understand from this cause to this problem. And then we apply this solution. So if I'm hungry, I don't go to a flip chart and try to find out the root causes why I'm hungry. This is a routine process. I eat something, and I know from my experience this helps solving this problem. But for a more complex project and problem, this is of course not suitable. And this is why we use Six Sigma. And knowing the solutions already in the beginning of a project is helpful, because on the one hand, you can recognize this person who mentioned these solutions later if you really also find this a suitable solution and implement it. In other cases, it's also very helpful, because if you have opponents in your company who say, we don't need Six Sigma here. We don't need any procedure. We do it. We are a continuous improver from the beginning of our lifetime and will always continuously improve. Everybody is implementing lean ideas, and Kaizen and Six Sigma knows this. This defense argumentation of some of these employees, and it's good to know from all of them what their initial ideas are, because later you can then say this was suggested in the beginning, and this was the solution after our analyses. So I just also collect them and let them collect these solution ideas from the first, not impressions, observations. This is important. So here we have this circle, this causal circle, solutions. Causes are the interfaces for solutions. So solutions always go to, of course, certain causes, and basically, of course, we are looking for, in the course of the project, we are looking for the root causes. But the idea is that solutions go to the root causes. So root causes are the interfaces for solutions, and the causes, the causal chain from the root causes up to intermediate causes and to the final triggering causes, then these lead to the problems here, and our problems, of course, then have these effects. And to be able to differentiate this is important for the complete perspective. I think it's not only helpful in a Six Sigma project, but I think it could be helpful in any observation of your company. But what you can see also here, and what I also very often observe, is that there are several causes leading, triggering or amplifying the same problem. This is quite common, but the other situation that one cause probably leads to different problems, this doesn't happen very often. So we typically have the case that there are several candidates for a specific problem, especially if we talk about quality. And of course, also in availability problems, losing time along our supply chain, along our production process, means that we waste time and lose time in many different steps. So you won't find a specific spot typically where you lose all of your time. But you would, of course, already have solved this in the past. But if we talk about a Six Sigma project, then you have this negative influences on availability spread over the complete process chain. Let me show you the perspective to give you the overview and the summary of what this was about. So if we talk about outputs, then this is of course the purpose of our company, and this is the object here. And we of course have similar the inputs of our process, and outputs and inputs are basically the same from the idea. These are objects, can be described as objects, and the order that we get is an object, of course. And what changes is the role. So if I receive an input, then I am a customer. And if I deliver an output, then I'm, of course, a supplier. And so it's the same perspective. Within the process, for me, it's important to identify activities. These can be, of course, digital, manual, or mechanical activities, like we have this in our little bakery. These statements here are, of course, true for any resolution level that you put on your process. So this is an overall perspective from these inputs, from chocolate and the eggs and the tin to the final output of, but of course each intermediate output, preparing the shopping list, preparing the dough, mixing the ingredients, preparing the dough, and so on. These are of course intermediate outputs where this perspective is also can be applied. Then we have these resources in every process. So we have our chef here, we have the calendar, kitchen, balance, measuring cup, mixer, energy, timer, and our oven. So these are the resources execute the activities: employees, machines, tools, energy. And then we have the methods, and as I already mentioned, they are very often forgotten in process descriptions and also in designing processes. So this can be algorithms, instructions, rules, expertises, habits that we have. These I of course don't prefer habits because these are individual methods. And a typical example for our kitchen could be, for example, some rules. Hygiene rules that apply to our kitchen. The recipes, of course, the most important method we use in our bakery, and there might also be some additional operation instructions for using our oven and our mixer here. Typically, we should, of course, also then check the inputs that come in here. And if the inputs are okay, then they should, of course, pass. And no, if these inputs are not okay, we should reject this. You will also, of course, know that this not always happens. And the same then is true, of course, we're changing the role. Also, our customer will probably check our output. And this can be done to these categories: quality, availability, and consumption. And what we get typically in a process, if there are only positive influences from our inputs, from our methods, from our resources, if there are only positive influences, then we get a product within the certification limits. If we, on the other hand, have a deviation, then in an important attribute, for example, here in one of these quality attributes, color, texture, size, taste, of course, then this is a problem. And now we can be very sure that, of course, this deviation can only be triggered. This is important, not the root cause, can only be triggered in the preceding by the preceding activities, preceding resources, preceding methods, or the preceding inputs. And I think this might be helpful, this perspective, in classifying and in defining some kind of search room. Where should I look? What's basically possible here? So to combine this now, this process model, this tiny process model, with a problem-solving approach, then we have this problem here. And you remember that our problems, our deviations, quality, availability, and consumption lead to these effects, costs, and dissatisfaction. We have our causes, our triggering causes here in these process components. And of course, then our solutions necessarily need to get to the interfaces of these root causes later. A more causal perspective on these problems can be delivered by a fault tree, and I really like these fault trees. I don't like the Ishikawa diagram because of its the way it is generated. So if you think about an Ishikawa diagram, then this is based on an associative method. What do you think? Here we have our problem at the head of the fishbone, and what do you think could be the cause in terms of the material, the method? Hey, these are the same terms. Machine, material, management, and measurement, and so on. So an Ishikawa diagram is more an associative method. I learned had the first contact to the fault tree from a company, from a factory chef, CEO, a factory CEO who asked me, who implemented Six Sigma, and asked me then to translate this to the investigation of incidents. This was a chemical company in Germany, and of course, for a chemical company, it's very important to put safety first in all of the things that they do. And if incidents are analyzed, any kinds of incidents, then fault trees would be used. Of course, why? A fault tree can already give you a picture of the chronology of events, and causality always is chronological. So if you have a fault tree and work with a fault tree, you can be better sure, of course not sure, but you can be better sure that you can follow the chronological chain of your problems here. So you can put your problems that you observed here in one line. You can also discriminate the different effects that you have. You can also now classify the different triggering causes that you have observed, and you can also assign your first solution ideas. So this would be a picture, the first picture that we require from our students at the end of the first phase of a Six Sigma project, at the end of Define, to give a clear picture. This is actually my understanding of the project field where we are talking about. And I know from experience that sponsors, that the managements also like this perspective, because probably no one produced it before. So what we are now then do, and let me give you some final perspective. Shireen, do I have still have time? I think it's 5:45, but I started earlier, so.
Can we close in 2 minutes?
2 minutes, okay, so then let me go to just another final example here. Don't show you this, so it is not necessary. I also do not need to introduce this here. Let me introduce this. This was a tiny little survey that I took 3 days ago in our Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group for our Six Sigma students, and I asked this question here. What is the biggest problem of the pandemic from your perspective? And I offered, this was, of course, in the survey, students couldn't give free answers, but I offered those variety of topics that I experienced over the last 2 or 3 years. So I offered that there is a rapid mutation rate of the virus, that the vaccination opponents spread fake news, that there is an unfair distribution of vaccines on the earth, and intensive care units are overloaded. We have a rising unemployment rate. There is an extreme additional government spending. We have a high probability of infection, uncontrolled spread of the virus. People die from corona. Contact restriction up to lockdown, long development time of vaccines, compulsory vaccination restricts the freedom, the rights of our citizens, and insolvencies of companies and individuals. And this is what I got. So the sample size was 47, and these were the results I received. So from the perspective of the students, from your perspective, the rapid mutation rate of the virus had the highest rate of agreement. From a Six Sigma point of view, there is one clear problem here. People die from corona. This is the center of the complete pandemic. So if people would not die from corona, we would not have this difficult situation. And this is also, we have the only answer that is directly related to an individual person. But we very often think about, and you might remember this little survey from the beginning, we think out of the box and feel responsible for many, many other aspects. So I also tested this statistically. So the rapid mutation rate of this virus, also with this small sample size, was significantly different from all these answers here. And let me close this session to just a human behavior, a typical human behavior. So if you think about what detecting or solving issues with others or issues with ourselves, then I very often experience what we can do quite well, detecting issues with others. So if I think the most important problem is the rapid mutation rate of virus, I have no influence on the mutation rate of virus. But of course, I have an influence on people die on corona and behave conform to certain things. What we do not so well is solve issues with ourselves. And I think this can be generalized, not only from a single person, but also can be transferred to meetings that we have, that we very often focused in meetings, on workshops, on interesting but distant topics. This is why I also like Paul's presentation with a clear focus on this visualization. And why do we do this? Serves our self-protection. And it especially supports, and you will find it in authoritarian culture, corporate cultures. So the more you open, the more you allow for problems and things that deviate, the more often people will focus on solving issues with ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Reiner. Thank you for all of this. It has been really very good presentation, and thank you for taking the time to simplify the make approach using the cookies. I love that the causes cause many problems, or a problem by many causes. So it's interesting. You simplified it. Thank you very much. So if anyone has a question, we can have like one question or two. Okay. So someone is writing, he is enjoying and he thinks it's very informative, your session. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Many people thank you here. And many people wanted you to complete more and more. So Dr. Reiner is available all the time. He has his courses on edX and free videos.
Once, Leah, I have just one. You will get these, of course, you will get these slides. May I simply show you the last one? So I added a slide where you can get the complete material for free. So just to inform you, it's the last slide. So where is my mouse? I'm always looking for my mouse. This is.
So check with your cat.
Here. So the last slide will be, this is the overview of the videos, and this is on YouTube. So you will find them there. There's also a download package with a little software with the tools for the DMAC phases, and you can also join. We have every Tuesday, I have lectures. Next Tuesday, last time before our holidays, 8 UTC and 50. I don't want you to see this, so you will get these slides, and if you like, then just get some more information there.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much. Thank you for spending the time with us. Thank you. So I don't see any questions. I see people saying thank you. We enjoyed it. Great presentation and training. Someone's writing very interesting. Thank you. And they want longer presentations from you. Okay, so okay. Thank you, everyone. So we have to close now because it has been taking so long. And thank you, Doctor, for your time. I know it's Saturday, it's a weekend.
Just let me answer one question. So I see here, please, we need more example on statement about something is not existing, cannot lead to a problem. May I add just 1 minute?
Sure.
Of course, and thank you. So this is in this case, this situation never happened. But please imagine this situation. I was new in the company at Siemens and had my first customer. And the customer out there then complained at my boss and said, Reiner is always late. And then my boss came to me, hey, your customer complained, you are always late. And I said, yes, Bodo, that's right. And then my boss asked me, why? And I said, because I don't have a red Ferrari. So if you now think about what we just mentioned about problems, causes, effects, and solutions, what do you think? What is? I don't have a red Ferrari. What would you think is this? Where does it belong? Problem, effect, cause, solution. And you already see, yes, I see there, Mohamed Fakri, a solution, exactly. And this is, I'm talking about a solution that is not yet in place. I, of course, would like to drive a Ferrari. And I argue that a solution that is not yet in place is responsible for being late. And this is, of course, complete nonsense. But take your time. If you are doing Ishikawa diagrams, please inspect your Ishikawa diagrams. You will find about at least 30% not, lack of things like this. So deviations of indications of something that do not happen, but where we would like to have the solution. So just check it, and using a fault tree will a little bit prevent from this. So this just to give you this final example.
So there is a question about how academic are the Lean Six Sigma tools and why they are not taught in universities as individual modules.
I did not understand for fun question, which university is better to more RWTH? So sorry, this is also with a smile. I would never answer this question. So
when I say he's asking about how academic are Lean Six Sigma tools, how academic. Academic.
So what I tried here is to be able to generalize the Six Sigma approach. I'm a natural scientist from my background. And I immediately saw when I learned Six Sigma, there's lots of things that I learned that we are doing in science. So what I try to do is to generalize the approach, make it clear roles for the DMAIC phases, clear purposes for the DMAIC phases, a clear standardized arrangement of these tools. And you will find the tools in this download package on the last slide, which Shireen will share. So download it. This thing, tiny little Excel, protected Excel tool is called Sigma Guide. And there's a tool chain with about 30 tools. And the videos will lead you through these tools. So is this academic? Yes, insofar as there is I try to implement this scientific perspective on the world. Basically, I, of course, try to translate it and make it as easy as possible. So you will also, in the beginning, you will guide it in a controlled kind of dialogue. And if you have questions, of course, you join our Tuesday lectures and you will get answers. Everything is free. Download it. Of course, if you need a certificate, then you would need to buy it. But it's very important for me to share this material for free.
But Dr. Reiner, I feel it's Lean and Six Sigma tools are not suitable for academia, for undergraduate, because they tackle problems and you need to live it. You need experience. You need to go through it. You need to touch it. You need to feel it every day. So for undergraduate students, it's not easy to comprehend it, to understand it, because you have not been working and exposed to such problems.
Yes, I can understand. And of course, there is a big step also from, so you will see the application of the tools in this, for this video bakery example. And this is, of course, very easy understandable. And I know, Shireen, of course, this is what we experience every day. It's always a challenge then to transfer to the specific issue, to the specific situation in a company. This is also sometimes a challenge for me, which is the critical object here, which is the attribute, which is the deviation. So a good start, if you will find a good start, is to prepare this fault tree, to get an insight, to express your first observations that you have, and check this, whether it makes sense chronologically, and this is most important. Causality happens chronological. So what can I say? I can only say try it. And I'm also quite sure if you need personal support, then especially Shireen is very well educated in all of these topics, that she can also help you implementing, giving you additional support there, of course.
So I think it's this is the last one. So people ask about your presentation. You will kindly share it.
Yes.
And Iman from our team, she will send you all the presentations. And this we have already recorded the session, so it will be uploaded on YouTube, and she will send you the link as well. Thank you, Reiner. Thank you, Doctor.
You're very welcome. It was a pleasure for me. Thank you so much. Wow, and worked. Someone now make money with this.
So we will. I don't think it's great. You have been through a great journey in online learning, and I think COVID proved that you were right. You were one of the pioneers. Okay. So online learning now is the best, very important for everyone.
Yes, and so please take care. Corona can lead to death. This is from a Six Sigma perspective, the most important problem that we have, each of us.
But if you drink water, Dr. Reiner, you will die.
Pardon?
If we drink water, we will die, because everyone who died, he drank water sometime, right?
Yes.
So we say it's causality and correlation. Just it's correlation doesn't imply causality. So let's hope for the best. We hope things will improve. We hope the world will be improving. And we are happy you have those people here who are willing to learn and adapt and get developed. So everyone here, I promise you, if you learn this very well from Dr. Reiner, focus on what Pascal mentioned, learn, develop yourself, you will be leading the future at your organizations. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Have a nice time.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Bye.
Bye. Bye.